Come on in. Come on in. Come on into the room. Like the video as you guys come in. We're going to talk about what's going on. Diddy is definitely, they're saying that his children have arrived. They're saying that Diddy's now currently sitting in the courtroom. The children arrived right around 1:30. They're saying Diddy just got into the courtroom, I want to say about 2 to 3 minutes ago. Maybe even 10 minutes ago. Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. It normally takes people a little bit of time to come in the room. So we're going to go ahead and do the disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, okay? All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. So we're going to go ahead, chime in to what's being said, what's being talked about, and then that way we can stay on top of when the news breaks, we're here. Like I said, you're just not coming in. Like the video. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're watching from. His children arrived 30 minutes before. I think the children arrived right around, let's say, 1:30, 1:45. They're saying Diddy just got into court right around 2 o'clock. If not 1:50, whatever. So we're going to play the different clip, but I'm trying to let everybody get in the room first. Welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're watching from. Yeah, it normally takes about 2 minutes for people to get into the room. Let me know where you're watching from. Welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're watching from. And let me know, can you guys hear me? Press 1 if you can hear me. Thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it's taken like 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to come in, but everyone's going to come in, and then we're going to play the clip. Thanks for being here. Press 1. You can hear me. Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here, everyone. We're definitely going to play the clip and what they're saying. So let's go ahead and get to that because I don't want to miss anything either.
Video of Sean Combs allegedly beating Cassandra Ventura. I say allegedly, but looks pretty, and he admitted what it is anyway. But the point is, if that becomes the topic of conversation today, how do you think that's going to shake out? Because they're saying we want an evidentiary hearing to find out who leaked it. The prosecutors have said it didn't come from us. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a great idea. Anything you can do to try and circumvent what I think is a smoking gun in at
like the video, like the video
as it relates to
like the video,
the character of this fella. I think it's a good idea for the defense.
Some pages are flagged regarding that situation.
Expedition, going on in terms of who leaked it. More importantly,
like the video.
At some point in time, they're going to need.
Let me know where you're watching from as well.
Jury. And this might just be the first in a series of motions they file trying to keep the government from leaking evidence that's going to be
Let me know where you're watching from.
Case. Anybody who saw that particular video walked away from it disgusted. And obviously people are going to be brought into a courtroom pretty soon. Anything you can do to stop it, you try and stop it.
Yeah, sorry, Brian. Your signal went out for one quick second.
Good afternoon, Maine, Canada, Texas.
I hear you. I hear exactly what you're saying, what the motivation might be. Ava, I'm going to read you a portion of the letter. This is from their filing. This is from the Sean Combs defense attorneys. As detailed below, the CNN leak was but one of a long and documented history of leaks and false statements made with one purpose: to savage Mr. Combs' reputation prior to trial. While the government's misconduct in this case is particularly egregious, it is unfortunately part of a trend in this district. The government has learned that it can strategically leak information with impunity. This court should exercise its authority to prohibit these underhanded tactics, which severely undermine a criminal defendant's right to a fair trial. And they not only say this video was leaked, but also the number of comments that were allegedly attributed to DHS agents talking about who they're interviewing and what material they're seizing. They have a point?
This is a reaction video.
I think they're doing what a good defense attorney is trying to do. Get the smoking gun evidence out of there any way you can. Now, the prosecutors did a reply letter, and in their reply, they said, look, the video leak didn't come from us, didn't come from the Department of Homeland Security.
Where did it
wasn't
come
part
from?
of the evidence we had for the grand jury. So your argument, although you're more than able to make it, and you have every right to, as a good defense attorney would, there isn't a leg to stand on. And I think that raises an interesting question with the defense strategy here. If they're bringing up, tactics, saying prosecutorial misconduct, they better make sure that it is correct, because if it's not, they could become less credible in front of the judge.
Correct.
And that could shape the way this trial plays out for the defense if you lose the trust of a judge.
Well, and by the way, as I said, new judge here would go over this issue. But talking about, because we're getting comments now from our YouTubers, and Brian, I want to go to you about this. This is from Kiana Kane on YouTube. Do you think they will allow bail this time? And is he considered a high risk? First, before I throw this to you, Brian,
like the video.
we don't believe that the issue of bail is going to come up in front of Judge Subramanian right now, that this is now going to be decided by a different court, a higher court, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. But having said that, I read their brief, Brian, and I don't know if you had the opportunity to either, but what they basically suggest, and I'm going to summarize it, is we put together a very attractive bail package, $50 million bail, home confinement, take away access to his phone, take away access to the internet, visitor logs. He will be monitored by a third-party outside security team. We will put together any conditions possible in order to make sure that he is not a danger to society, as prosecutors claim. And they also spend a large portion of their brief saying he knew he was under investigation since January and had his attorneys reach out to prosecutors. He gave up his passport. He's been doing everything in his power to be cooperative. He came to New York to surrender himself. And this is not only a fair bail package that he's been doing.
Domino's pepperoni stuffed cheesy bread is loaded with pepperoni. It's kind of like your favorite pizza's best friend.
Also suggest is the two judges who denied him bail previously, they were relying on unproven allegations from the prosecution. They're saying he was contacting witnesses, but there's not definitive proof of that. It was actually not as nefarious as they claim. There are people who are reaching out to him. It was regarding the civil lawsuits. So as this now takes its way to a second court, a higher court, what do you think?
Well, I thought the argument they made the first time they made it was an excellent one. I thought they overcame what is a statutory presumption in these type of cases. The problem they've got now, though, they're in a circuit court. And the circuit court is really going to be looking at whether or not there was an abuse of discretion. And there is a lot of discretion vested in the district court judges, the ones that ruled on this case, to make these kind of bail detention decisions that they make every day. And so I think it's a really legitimate argument, and there's certainly circumstances that could be put in place that could protect everyone in this case and allow him to maintain his liberty. It's always a difficult task to overcome a district judge's finding on the issue of detention.
Yep. In other words, it wasn't so outside the realm of understanding why the judge did this, right? It's not like it made absolutely no sense. You take the government's allegations, you take the facts of this case, you take the weight of the evidence, you could say that the judge was justified, and that's really what you're looking at here. Now, I want to give everybody an update. As I mentioned, we're going to provide you updates throughout this hearing as it progresses. And
like the video.
Pretty much until this hearing's over, and even afterwards. So the hearing has officially started. Combs' new defense attorney, Anthony Rico, wanted to make it clear to the court that Mr. Combs' mother and his children traveled here from Florida and are seated behind me. Now, that's interesting because we talked earlier in the week, and by the way, to let everybody know, what you're seeing is the best any of us can do. There are no cameras allowed in that courtroom. This is not like a standard law and crime trial. I wish it was. I wish there were cameras in there, but federal courts, New York courts, they don't allow cameras in the courtroom. It's really a big disappointment. So we are going to do our best to relay to you in real time what's happening. And of course, as I mentioned, Elizabeth Milner's in there, and she'll come out later. So that's interesting that his family's there. Obviously, his family's
Thanks for
there,
being
but
here,
his
everyone.
mom,
Like the video.
earlier this
Let me
week,
know where
we
you're
did a
watching
sidebar
from.
episode on this, released a statement. And she basically told the world, don't judge him, allow him to present his defense. But also she said, he lied. He lied. He slept when he said he had, didn't do anything. And then he apologizes for the Cassandra Ventura video. He lied. I thought it was very interesting his mom released that statement through her lawyer, of course.
And I think lying versus committing sex trafficking and RICO-type charges are two very different things. The law says you're innocent until proven guilty.
Thanks for
and
being
his
here,
mom
Texas,
being there
Utah,
could be a
London,
show of her belief that my son is
Belgium,
innocent
Miami,
of these
Florida.
indictment charges until he's proven.
Yeah.
And I'm going to support my son.
Yeah, I understand that. And look, she came out with that statement after the charges, after the civil lawsuits. And look, unfortunately, she's, I think, 84 years old. She's probably wants to get this statement in, and it's her son. So I understandable that she said that. But at the same time, they're very serious accusations, and a number of people have levied very, very serious claims against him. Okay, so I have a question for both of you. I will start with you, Brian. This is from Nicholas Winter on YouTube. What are your views on federal court not allowing transparency via press coverage inside the courtroom? Would the video of the hearing be made public
Thanks for
when
being
the case
here.
is closed?
This is a reaction video.
I couldn't agree more with the view that there ought to be access. The citizens have a right to see. They have a right to know. They want to see justice being made. And they don't have that opportunity in federal courts. We don't even have that opportunity in the state courts of Pennsylvania. And I know what the rules allow for. I know why those rules exist. But I think we're now at an age, a point in time in our nation's history, where our citizens require it. They want to be able to see it so they can believe it. And they want to have trust in the system. And I think that would give them at least some confidence that what they hear, what they read is what their eyes are telling them. So why not?
Yeah, and not everybody's able to read an article about what happened. To have that visual medium, to have a clip unedited and put in context, of course, would really help provide that transparency. And no, there's not going to be a copy of the video after the case. There will be transcripts. We can see transcripts. That's probably the best we'll get. Courtroom sketches, as we're seeing.
Transcripts are
Ava,
good.
I'll give you the opportunity to respond to that as well. But if you want, I have another question for you.
Sure,
Actually,
go
you
ahead.
answered that. This Nicholas Winter asked for your opinion too. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think either of you are going to like my opinion. I think that it shouldn't be open to the public because the most important thing is the privacy of the victims, as well as to ensure that the charge, no matter how egregious the charges are, you have a right to a fair trial. And I think opening up to the public, having cameras in there, could really impede on that right.
Brian, I want to give you an
case.
update about what's happening in court.
Like the
Literally
video,
what we
like the
just
video.
talked about,
Please
the speedy
subscribe.
trial. So the judge said the defense requested a trial in April or May of 2025. The judge says they can give them either month, and the judge offered May 5th. The defense said they will take May 5th, and the government says its case will take 3 weeks. Do you imagine this really happening in May of 2025? Less than a year after he was arrested and indicted?
It's unbelievable. It would really be the absolute unusual situation with the representations made about the amount of discovery in this case. But I get it. And, they have an obligation to not only protect, Mr. Combs, but to see to his wishes. And what he wants is his liberty. Now, if there's a determination, I can assure you, by the circuit court that he's going to be released, they may want to punt this case until maybe 2 years from now.
Right.
But while he's in custody, I can assure you they're going to be pushing for that May trial date. And guess what? This judge is basically saying, you want it? I'll give it to you. But don't come crying to me, 4 months from now if it's not working for your schedule. So, interesting.
Yeah, look, I'm of the opinion, and I will back this up any day. I think he really thought he was going to make bail, be on house arrest for 1 year, 2 years, push it out as long as he wants. But now the fact, and I'll give you another update here, Ava. So the defense says its case, it's going to take a week, 1 week to defend, And that seems to me, right, he's going to be locked up. Try to get him tried as soon as possible. Put this behind him.
Like the video. Let's get the likes to 200.
They feel confident in their defense against these
Double
charges
tap the
right
screen.
now.
Hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video.
That all of these freak-offs were consensual. But doesn't that signal to you that the defense, at least at this point, feels confident in proving his innocence?
Yeah, but the defense might not also have all the evidence yet. You know, the prosecutor in their letter said there was several terabytes.
We got to get the likes up. We're at 11 likes. Double tap the screen. Hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Yes, I have to do a reaction video. I'm going to do a reaction video. You'll hear me slightly in the background. That way I can bring you the news, talk about what's being said. He is before a judge. His children showed up. I want to say 1:30, 1:45. He appeared, of course, in court. Court supposed to start at 2. Like the video. Let's get the likes to 200. Please, if I get 500 people to please subscribe and turn on your notification bell. If I get 500 people to please subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Also, let me know if you're new to the channel, press 3. If you've been here before, press 5. If you're new to the channel, press 3 and where you're chiming in from, or press 5 if you've been here before. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all. Please be kind in the comments or you will be timed out.
Of information. To break that down, if you had 2 terabytes of video footage, that would amount to 40 days of watching the video footage nonstop just to get through those 2 terabytes. And 1 terabyte, we know, is about 500,000 photos.
Well, the government has just said, the prosecutors, that they can complete production of discovery, meaning turning it over to Sean Combs, by the end of the year. So before January. So if you give everything to the defense by January, can they adequately prepare a case by May?
That gives you 4 or 5 months to review the amount of evidence. Like I said, the videos alone could take 2 months just to look at them every hour of every day for 2 months. You better have a great legal team behind you.
And that's for the current charges. If these charges are upgraded, if he's hit with charges related to minors, as some of the allegations in the civil suits have alleged, this whole case changes. The whole defense changes. I imagine that they can't go to trial in May so quickly. But with the current charges here, Brian, again, that part's interesting. That part's interesting, right? Because the government knows right now if they plan to issue a superseding indictment, right? So would they give any indication? I wouldn't think this May date's going to work, Your Honor. I can't tell you why, but I think that something's going to happen in the next month or so. They can't say that, right?
Yeah, they don't usually, and I don't think they would here, certainly. I had been expecting a superseding indictment in this case from the minute I first read the indictment. I was stunned that there were no other defendants. I was stunned that there weren't any charges relative to minors. But TBD, if there is no change, meaning if there is no superseding indictment, the defense will get what they want. I just don't know at the end of the day if that's what they're going to want. You want time to prepare. You want time to go through everything. As Ava has said, it would be a Herculean task to go through all this stuff and to find the stuff you're looking for. And things change, I will tell you. January will come, and we'll see some new developments, and that April or maybe trial date may quickly move if there's additional evidence that's provided, if there's a change in circumstances. But it's pretty clear they want to try the case now because he's in jail.
Like the video, like the video.
Yeah, but like you said, if that changes, if the Second Circuit lets him out on bail, like you said, I got a whole nother thought. It's 100% true. Now, to give everybody some more updates, they're discussing now discovery and disputes. The defense says we're trying to keep them to a minimum. We have an active dialogue with the government. I don't have any disputes at the moment. The government has said that there were 96 devices that were seized in those March raids from Los Angeles and Miami, and also when he was at that private airport in Florida. And the government is extracting material over the next 30 days, so it kind of gives us the time frame of this. Now, I want to, Ava, turn to some questions about the jury. the potential jury here. So this is from Danielle Taylor on YouTube. Where are they going to find a jury? And that is also another question we had as well from another viewer. I'm going to try to find out who said that.
Let me know where you're watching from. Press 3 if you're new.
This is
Press
from
5
Jane
if
on
you've been
YouTube.
here
How is the court
before.
going to select a jury, given the fact that most people in the world know of him?
That is the question of the hour that everybody is asking. I think one of the issues here is he is one of the most famous hip hop artists of all time.
Thanks for watching.
So how are you going to get a jury that's fair and impartial that hasn't heard about the Diddy case? I don't know. I think that it's going to come down to the jury questioning when they get the jury there, doing the voir dire and asking the question of, can you be fair and impartial? The test isn't whether or not anybody's heard of the case. I'm sure everyone probably has, but whether or not you can set aside any bias that you may have against Sean Combs and be fair and impartial. And I'm sure when they do the voir dire, we're going to see a lot of challenges to the jury pool, and this is going to be a long, drawn-out process.
Well, that's the point when the defense makes to say that this video, Brian, of him purportedly beating Cassandra Ventura, everybody saw that video, and that is going to be very hard to forget.
Yes,
That'll be
it is.
very hard to put away. Now, the defense
Yes, it
says,
is.
Brian, I'm curious, they say you're looking at this video, you're saying it's evidence of her escaping a freak-off. This was a couple that had a very tumultuous relationship. They both abused drugs. This was a domestic spat. This was an incident of domestic violence, but it's not evidence of a sex trafficking. It's not evidence of a criminal enterprise. What do you make of that?
Yeah, one of the motions you're going to see here is to exclude that video for that very reason, that it has nothing to do with the crimes charged. This was no different from him getting into a fist fight on the street or a fight with someone in his own family. It was domestic violence. It had nothing to do with the crimes charged. And quite frankly, they may have a legitimate leg to stand on here. It is so prejudicial that there's going to have to be significant probative value for it to come into evidence in this case. And they will monumentally move heaven and earth to try and keep that evidence out, I can assure you.
Like the
Going
video,
back
like
to
the
an
video.
update, so the government
Let's
still
get the
talking
likes
about
to
discovering
100.
material in this case, that it's going to take some time and specific tools to extract all of the data. Some devices were damaged. What does that process contain? What does that process entail, I should say, Ava, when you get a voluminous amount of material, email accounts, cell phones, laptops, video surveillance footage, electronic data? How does the government work on extracting that information? Who do they work with?
You're going to have a team of IT experts that are very good at going in, getting the data out, but it's a process. It's going to take a while to do it.
Brian, question for you. This is from Daniela3984 on YouTube. Is it possible for Cassandra Ventura, to testify against Combs even though they settled outside of court? And
Good
just
question.
to let everybody know, she filed her lawsuit in November of 2023, settled with him the day after for an undisclosed amount, for undisclosed details. What is your take on that? Can she testify?
Sure, she could be compelled to testify by the prosecution. I mean, that was a civil agreement, and it certainly has legitimacy within the civil courts, but this is a criminal prosecution. They'll issue a subpoena order, they'll compel her to testify. Period.
Another follow-up question for you, Brian. This is from Ashley Glass on YouTube. How many times does he get to appeal for bail? So just to let everybody know, first there was a magistrate judge who denied bail. Then a district court judge denied bail. Now he's taking it up to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. If the Second Circuit Court of Appeals denies it, where can he appeal it next, and how many times can he keep appealing it?
It's over. I've never seen an appeal beyond the circuit court go anywhere. The next place to go is to the United States Supreme Court, and they're not taking on any kind of a bail motion. So this will be it. The circuit court will rule, and whatever that ruling is, that will be your answer.
Wow.
Can the circumstances change, Ava? For example, if some of the allegations put forward by the prosecutors about him contacting witnesses, or some other development happens that changes the circumstances, can he appeal for bail one more time? If you don't know that, I'll ask Brian. Let me ask Brian. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, you would really need to change the circumstances. Sure, if you found evidence of innocence, if you found evidence that that, a typical case somewhere where somebody was somewhere else at the time of the crime, yeah, a lot of things could change. But just on the issue of where you can go for help on appeal, they can't go any higher than the circuit court with any legitimacy.
Ava, I'll turn to you now. Do you think that they make good arguments?
Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here. Press 3 if you're new. Press 5 if you've been here before. Press 3 if you're new. Press 5 if you've been here before.
Bail package. Throughout his appeal, he said that a lot of these conversations, he wasn't obstructing justice. He was, first of all, they said that him denying the civil lawsuits, that can't be a form of obstruction of justice. He was not, as soon as he found out somebody was a grand jury witness, he stopped contacting them. A lot of people, he said, reached out to him regarding the civil suits. And I think the bigger question put forward by him is, how can you detain him when these are mere allegations that aren't backed up by more evidence that he had been reaching out to people, that he had been trying to reach out to witnesses and victims? Does the government not need more in order to detain him?
I think the bigger question is, how can you ensure that the person with all the money and all the power in the world is going to show up to court? So their bail package, yeah, it's a good bail package, but like they said, he'll surrender his passport. We don't know if he has other passports. There are countries where you could go and pay $200,000, become a citizen, get another passport.
Why didn't he do it in the past few months? He could have done it. He didn't do it. He surrendered his passport even before he had to.
If I get 1,000, please subscribe. Please subscribe and turn on your notification bell.
Here's a question for you, Brian, as we wait for more updates from the court. This is from Alicia Fall. Why haven't there been charges brought towards Diddy's employees and other artists?
Good question.
Yeah, well, the only way you could bring other charges if they were part of a conspiracy, if they took any actions, any criminal actions on the part of the conspiracy. So whether there were other artists involved, whether there were other employees involved, they would have to engage in criminal conduct. I am stunned that nobody in his, what I'll call, inner circle, who are supposed to have made some of these threats, who are carried out some of these threats, have not been charged as accomplices. That's the one thing that has stunned me so far in terms of the brevity of this indictment, why it is just him.
By the way, they said the same thing in the Epstein case, right? If this is a giant, a giant criminal organization, if there's multiple people, why do you only see 2 people being charged for it? But I guess that's the question. If this is a conspiracy, he can't just agree with himself. He's got to agree with other people. You would have to assume, Brian, that they are cooperating witnesses, right?
Well, there's no question about that. It's what's troubling to me is if they are cooperating witnesses, did they simply get immunity? You rarely see that. You see cooperating witnesses coming in and taking guilty pleas and then cooperating. You rarely see full-blown immunity, and that's why I'm not so sure we won't see a superseding indictment.
I still think it's coming too. The same thing happened in the R. Kelly case. Okay, got another question. So far, no updates from court. Keeping a very careful eye on it. And we also have that feed from outside the courthouse as well. This is from Malel33. Apologize if
Can I please get 300 people to subscribe and turn on your notifications?
Tony Busby. So again, Tony Busby is that Texas attorney who announced, I think it was last week, that he is representing hundreds of alleged victims of Sean Combs, and he plans to file 120 lawsuits across the country. Says that at least 25 of them were minors when they were abused by Sean Combs. One of them was a 9-year-old, he claims. This is the question from Malel33. If Busby knows things, meaning crimes, could we expect the feds to inquire about those settlements he's doing?
Yeah, I think everything's fair game.
Now, he was asked about that. He was asked, about the connectivity between him and the federal government, and he really didn't say. Like, he either didn't know or he didn't say.
And we may not know. I think even if there is a conversation, it's probably not going to be disclosed to the public.
Brian, before I go to you, Brian, about that one, because I'm curious your take on it. A couple of updates. Prosecutor AUSA Johnson, from the airport, 9 devices were seized.
That's outside of the courtroom.
36 devices were seized. 29 have been extracted. 17 will be produced in our next production. In LA, 51 were seized. 27 will be produced in our next production. Also, Combs' phone from his arrest in September will also be extracted. Some people would say that seems like really dry, boring news. I will tell you, We have been speculating for months before the arrest and indictment. What did they take? What are they looking at? I think this is a gold mine. We still don't know what they're finding on it or what they will find on it, but I think that's interesting. Now, another update. The Prosecutor Johnson, said that the subpoena returns, we are putting them in a relativity database. Oh, I remember that one. You remember when I was a litigator, I remember that. Explain to our audience really what that is real quick.
It's an online database where you store lots of information, and then you have someone go in and code it and check to see if something's responsive or not.
Yeah, I had to do
It's terrible.
for
Absolutely terrible.
It was the worst thing. You literally go and check. Okay. Anyway, all right. So they also say, and the judge asked, what about Brady material? Johnson, the prosecutor, says the defense sent us a Brady request. The judge said, at the next conference, I will ask about your progress. The prosecutor said, our investigation continues. Further on, he says, we have a subpoena out to Combs Global. We were reviewing all of the material for privilege. Our filter team, removed some material before the case team can see it. And then the judge said, for motions, I'll give the defense until February 17th or before we are here. And then they next have a next discovery conference on December 18th at 2 p.m. And now they're going to turn to a defendant's motion. I'll get to that in a second. So, Brian, a lot about discovery here, setting timetables for it. As you said, what do you take away?
Pretty much what I expected. They want to get the case on track, and they want to put dates down that'll be etched in stone where they can take everybody's pulse. December's a pretty good time. There'll be another 2 months for the defense to receive discovery, start reviewing discovery items, know what they don't have. The government's going to have to explain why they haven't turned over whatever they do have left. But this is the kind of timetable you see time and time again with complex cases. So I'm not surprised by it. I would have expected it. This judge is doing it by the numbers, as I think everybody expected him to do.
Press 3 if you're new. Press 5 if you've been here. Like the video, please.
I think it's now being teamed his dream team. I don't know, but his dream team. Mark Agnafilo is asking the court for a gag order.
Press 3 if you're new. Press 5 if you've been here. Let me know where you're watching from.
And making other prejudicial statements. Ava, this is what we anticipated, that they were going to bring that up. What do you make of it?
Absolutely. Right now, it's all speculation that they're making regarding the gag order, and I won't be surprised if the prosecutors also request a gag order against Sean Diddy Combs in order to prevent him from talking to victims.
Brian, turn it over to you. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's something that the prosecution requests, gag orders for the defense. And I understand why Mark's doing it. It's the right move. This is a case where they do not want their jury pool exposed to any more comments, any more statements, or any more videos that may be at the disposal of the federal government or whoever turned it over. So, smart move by the defense. I would expect
Canada,
the government
welcome
to say,
Ohio,
sure,
welcome
we're all in.
Seattle.
Well, Ava, this is the government's response. The government
Welcome,
says,
Florida.
this is a live update, is saying, they say the defense is trying to exclude a damning piece of evidence. This is, I believe, regarding the video, the 2016 video. The press statements, they are not from the prosecution team. The government says that it is significant that that's the case. The government is requesting the judge defer any ruling until they get the papers.
Right. And the prosecutors asked for 3 weeks to be able to put together their papers. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's an evidentiary hearing that comes out of this. I mean, they're saying he's not going to have his Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial. And that's something judges take very seriously.
Chet, big question for you. This is from Pixie on YouTube. How much time is Sean Combs looking at if he's convicted of all the charges?
Good question.
I'll send it to you.
Well, I think it's I think it's life in prison, if I'm correct. I mean, we're looking at 15 years to life in prison. The racketeering charge could be 20 years. Brian, am I wrong about that? I mean, minimum. 15,
yeah, I mean, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20, I would think would be a guideline kind of area that he could expect with these kind of charges. So yeah.
What about life in prison?
This isn't a life case. I can't even fathom that there might even be a possibility that this would be a life case.
Another question. This is from Helena Chavez Adams. Are the sons being looked into being involved? Now, we know that Justin Combs has been mentioned in the lawsuit. We know Christian Combs is facing his own sexual assault lawsuit. They haven't been charged. They are with their father in court. What do you think? role that they may play in this criminal case?
Well, we know that the prosecutor sent out, they said in one of their correspondence, 300 subpoenas, 100 have been turned back. So there may be evidence somewhere in there that the sons are being looked at, but I think right now we're just waiting to see how it all unfolds.
Brian, this is a question that has been a common theme in the sidebars that I've done. This is from Dana Gilson on YouTube. At what point are people able to be legally responsible for not reporting a criminal act that they witness or suspect? Will hotel employees be charged for not reporting potential abuse? This becomes a common question when we talk about whether or not big-time celebrities who maybe were at the parties and noticed something, or at the freak-offs and noticed something, even if they didn't engage in criminal behavior, if they saw it and didn't report it, could they be legally responsible?
I don't think there are any charges that could emanate in a federal proceeding for simply witnessing a crime and not stopping it or not notifying law enforcement. Now, take an active role in covering it up, take an active role in participating, or on a whole different level of conversation. But I think the answer to that question, at least in every case I've ever been involved in, is no.
Okay. Now
Welcome. Please subscribe to the channel. Can I get 1,000 people to please subscribe? Press 3 if you're new, press 5 if you've been here before.
Agents, so seems to be entertaining the idea of a gag order. The government responded, we have no problem. Affirm our obligation not to speak to the press. We object to an order about future leaks. If so, should be reciprocal, right? So it goes both ways. How would that work? In terms of, if there is a gag order, would we all just be scouring legal filings to get more information about this case? I imagine his attorneys wouldn't do any press. There would be no more press conferences. What would that look like, a gag order that would really seal information about this?
It really just depends on what is in the gag order and to what extent. If it is that neither side can talk to the press, then yeah, I think we're going to be waiting at the edge of our seats till the next court update and be listening attentively at what happens at each court appearance.
Brian, going back to you, this is something that you reiterated before, but I think it's important to mention once more. Bree Alexis on YouTube asks, at what point will we know if other defendants become part of this indictment?
Good question.
I mean, there's no easy answer to that. I would think it would be quick, meaning I think within the next couple of months, if there's going to be a superseding indictment, and that's really what the question is asking about, whether there'll be additional charges and or additional defendants, I think you're going to see it within the next 60 days. I'd be stunned if the prosecution didn't move quickly if they have it. The only problem is going to be, what if they develop evidence in February? Now, what if somebody comes forward in February, they find something in February? You know, it's an ongoing investigation. There's civil litigation here. And sometimes the feds really don't know what some of these civil practitioners have in terms of evidence and what they've developed. What if they get that 2 months from now or 3 months from now?
Thanks for subscribing, Scott.
What if there's an
to the
objection
page
to it and they can't get to it? That would be the only way I would think you'd see a superseding indictment after the new year.
And that means that trial ain't happening in April or May, right?
No way.
No way.
No way.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Ava. Update. Judge says, draft an order, maybe see what the gag order would look like. Open the floor for objections. The government said, we have concerns about Mr. Agnafilo's statement. Again, this is the defense attorney, Mark Agnafilo. We have concerns about Mr. Agnafilo's statement.
Thanks for subscribing.
He basically accused the government of engaging in a racist prosecution. So the government's taking offense to the allegations put forward by Combs' defense team.
As they should. I mean, the defense team is essentially saying that they leaked the 2016 video, and there's absolutely no evidence to show that the government leaked it.
Yeah, the AUSA Johnson. I'll read you a quote. Mr. Agnafilo said, they make the case as the takedown of a successful black man. The statements have been picked up. Agnafilo responds, this should have been in the letter. So, you know, look,
Time doesn't heal a wound. Hard work, innovation, and
like the video. Let me know where you're watching from. Please, if I can get 1,000 people to please subscribe and turn on your notifications. If I could please get 1,000 people to please subscribe and turn on your notification. We're trying to hit 27K. Press 3 if you're new. Press 5 if you've been here. Let's continue.
Here is they're just trying to take the spotlight away from the alleged activity that Combs was involved in.
Be kind in the comments.
To be the victim here.
So, Brian, look, you have represented some high-profile people, right? We've talked about the participation in the
Hello, Paris.
involved in representing Bill Cosby. When you are representing a very high-profile individual, let's say a Sean Combs, what does that look like? What are the difficulties of representing somebody like him?
The biggest difficulties I always found is trying to write the narrative in the media. You've received an avalanche of adverse publicity, and you're going to take it upon yourself to overcome that. It doesn't work. And that's why I think the defense is smart to ask for a gag order here. They're not going to get favorable publicity no matter how hard they try. That's one of the problems. The other problem with celebrities, I will tell you, is, and it's just some of them, not all of them, but they have their own camps and they have their own professionals that surround them. And sometimes these folks think they're trial lawyers when they're not. And so, what Mr. Combs ought to be doing is taking his advice from his dream team, which he's going to be paying a lot of money for, and which are all excellent lawyers, and not some of the people that like to chirp in their ears. That always is a bit of a problem. They're very wealthy folks. They're very brilliant folks, but they're not lawyers, and they ought to trust their lawyers. That would be the one thing that that you'll have to overcome as a lawyer in this case.
Brian, if I may, I have to ask you, do you think his lawyers advised him to put out that apology video on Instagram after the release of the 2016 video of him reportedly beating Cassandra Ventura? Or do you think that was him going rogue and ultimately saying, I'm going to put this out?
Rogue for a while. I'm convinced his lawyers told him to do that. Listen, it was devastating. Yeah. What are you going to say about it? You can't spin it. So apologize for it and say, yeah, I did that. I'm not a great guy, but I didn't do what they've accused me of. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, the problem is he admitted to a crime, and when he was under investigation.
It was a crime. That was one of those things, and I know what you're saying, but, it's like, don't believe your lying eyes. So you can't run from that. So embrace it. I made a mistake. I'm human. I apologize for it. People want to hear that. They don't want to hear some negative, ridiculous spin. I think it was the smart move, and I would have done it.
All right. Well, look, it's definitely a point of conversation, and it helps his defense. He didn't say he apologized, but didn't reveal too much. If he's going to go forward with the argument that this was a bad domestic spat and not an example of sex trafficking, not an example of a freak off, he could use that video and say, I'm apologizing for what happened between me and her, but it doesn't mean I did anything illegal regarding a racketeering enterprise. Okay,
absolutely.
A couple things. So this, again, is a live feed outside the courthouse. There are no cameras allowed in the courtroom. We're doing our best to provide you updates as they come in. We have these live updates coming in, but we are also taking your questions on YouTube. So if you have a question about the Sean Combs case, if you have a question about what's happening in today's hearing, submit it on YouTube. We'll read it on the air.
Like the video.
So,
can I please get 1,000 people to please subscribe, turn on your notification bells?
The government responded, we
reaction
moved to exclude
video
time under the act. It's already told by the motion. The judge said I exclude time until December 18th. I have no application for bail before me. What does that mean?
Well, under the Speedy Trial Act, he has a right to go to trial within 90 days. What can happen is there's certain situations where you would exclude, so certain time wouldn't count against the government. As here, it could be a few weeks.
You guys, I want to keep the video going. We got to get the likes to 100. We should really be at 500 likes. This is a reaction video. So please subscribe. Can I please get 1,000 people to subscribe and turn on your notification? Double tap the screen, hit the like above the video or below the video. Let's continue. Thanks for being here.
It could be a month, and that way it still gives them more time.
Now, the judge concluded this hearing. So that's right. The hearing is concluded. We're going to have Elizabeth Milner coming out right now, and we're going to do some follow-up questions with her. But basically, the judge said, so Mr. Combs will remain detained. Let me ask you this, Brian. As we wait for Elizabeth to come out of the courthouse, and she'll give us kind of an overview of what was happening inside there, and we might actually see some pressers from maybe Mark Agnifilo. we'll see if we hear any more statements about the case. Talking about the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, his appeal to fight bail, his appeal to try to get bail once again, when will we get a decision in that case? I mean, they just filed their brief in support of their brief saying he should be granted pretrial release. When will the court make a decision?
I think it's going to be real quick.
Good question.
For a high-profile appeal like this, I think they'll move quickly. You'll probably see something within the next 2 weeks.
And Ava, the thing about it is, someone like him, and I remember his attorney said this, obviously there's terrible conditions within that detention center, the Metropolitan Detention Center, but also said that he might be a target because of his high-profile status. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. We saw that with the R. Kelly case. One of the things his attorney said when they were trying to get him to get bail was, look, he was a target and he did get beaten up, and the guy who beat him up wanted publicity for his own case. Definitely. P. Diddy, he could very likely be a target in prison.
Brian, something you mentioned, it just struck me as we're talking about, because one of the big things that came out of this hearing is, could we potentially see a trial in the spring of 2025, much sooner than I think a lot of us had anticipated, if the defense starts getting all this material, and I believe they already received on October 7th their first batch of material. If they start to see something and they say, wow, the evidence is a lot worse than we thought, do you think they're going to say, you know what, we need a little bit more time?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they can ask for more time anytime they want. I think what this judge is going to basically tell them
who else is involved?
Once you've gotten discovery,
I don't know.
Don't wait around.
Good question.
You've now made the aggressive decision to ask for a trial in May. You didn't have to do that. You could have had a designated complex, and we could have set it for 2025, December of 2025, anytime you want it. So since they asked for it, if they're going to make such a move, they better do it quick.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the questions that was asked of me from Bush Baby on YouTube, is his dream team in attendance today? Look, he's assembled a whole new legal team, an appellate attorney. I'm not sure exactly who was accompanying him today. We know that Mark Agnafilo was. We'll find out from Elizabeth Milner maybe a little bit more about his team who was with him in court, but we'll see, and also who else was in attendance. We have a question
His
from
children
Marissa
showed up.
McGill. Will he be charged in any other state, Ava, or do you think his time will be consecutive in one?
I think we really won't know until we see how things unfold.
Well, it was in New York because a lot of the conduct could have been centered here. But if you take the allegations as true, and there was conduct in California too, do you think there was a conversation between New York prosecutors and California prosecutors about this? Or do you think
Good question.
maybe this was just always New York based and this is where it's going to be?
There may have been a conversation, and New York may have decided we're going to go forward with it.
Yeah. All right, question for you, Brian. This is from Famous Joker of YouTube. Do you think it's only Combs, or is there one person in the background, someone with more power? So I actually like this question. I'll tell you
question.
why. I am convinced, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I am convinced. Everybody says, Sean Combs is going to spill the beans. He's going to turn on people more powerful than him, the people controlling the strings, in order to get a better deal. I don't think that's possible because he would have to agree to significant prison time as part of a deal. I don't think he's going to want to do that whatsoever. You can disagree with me about that. But I guess also the question is, who would he provide information on? Who is bigger than him?
Yeah, I get the question from Famous Joker, but I really think that you're looking at the guy. That's the tip of the iceberg. I think there is an iceberg, but I'm not so sure that there's anybody above him that the feds are too interested in. This was his party, and they want him to pay for it.
Correct.
And I would say you don't even need him, right, Ava? You don't even need, if so much of this is documented on videos and text messages and witness accounts, do you even need the testimony of Sean Combs? Now, of course, I would imagine taking a deal is optimal. You can save the pain of having these witnesses testify and talk about what happened to them, the expense, the time of a trial. But I also think you don't even need him as a cooperating witness, right? They want to prosecute him.
Right. And I think in his trial, he's probably not going to want to say a word.
Yeah. So again, let me also tell you, by the way, that brings me to another point. So Elizabeth Milner is coming out. We're going to have her on as soon as she can. We'll talk more about what she observed in the courtroom, what are the main takeaways from today, where we see this trial going, where we see this case going. Ava raised an interesting question, Brian. Do you think that Sean Combs, and his attorney said he wants to do it, you think Sean Combs would take the stand in his own defense?
Another good question.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, that's usually not the rule. It's usually not the game plan. But when you're dealing with a case like this, where there has to be some questions answered, sometimes the best person, to answer them is the defendant himself.
Right.
He's eloquent. He's smart.
Right.
He gets it. This might be one of those cases where you do that, particularly if some of the evidence has to be explained. We talked about the video. I mean, you got to explain that video. Otherwise, you're just a vicious, bad guy. There may be text messages he has to explain. There may be video evidence that we haven't seen that has to be explained. Who's going to explain it?
Facts.
They said that it's going to take a week to try it. Well, there's 8 hours in a court day. That's a lot of witnesses for 1 week. I want to know who these witnesses are, and if Sean Combs isn't among them.
Facts.
It would be the norm, but it might not be what this case takes from the defense perspective.
That's a good point. So if you take their argument as true that this would take 1 week to defend, what kind of witnesses would they call? Who would they call? Would they call... I mean, other than cross-examining the state's alleged victims and trying to point to the fact that this was consensual behavior, they call male sex workers? I think so. I think they would call male sex workers to say that all this was on the up and up and consensual, other than the fact that you're hiring male prostitutes to participate in these activities. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be where the rubber hits the road in this case. I mean, you're going to have to establish that all these people were paid for and came in willing and knowing.
For the ones ensuring the job always gets done, and the ones wearing...
Like the video. Can I please get 1,000 people to please subscribe? We're almost at 27K. Please subscribe. Please, let's hit the like button. Double tap the screen. Hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. It was a commercial.
The defense case takes 1 day.
All right, Ava, I'm going to give you one more question before we have to hit a break. This is from Joe D. Lopart on YouTube. If the celebs that appear, knew, or participated in these crimes are identified, will they be under police persecution, arrest too?
I think it goes back to what was discussed earlier. It depends on what their participation was. Did they cover up evidence? Did they take an active role in things? Or were they just merely bystanders who saw things?
We shall see. But here's what I know. Ava Sullivan, thank you so much for coming on. Brian McMonagle, I know we have to sign you off too. Thank you both so much for coming on, breaking this down for us. Elizabeth Milner is going to come out of that courthouse. We're going to talk to her, find out what's been happening inside. Really appreciate you both coming on and your perspective. So thank you both. And everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. We'll take a quick break.
Okay. So as they take a break, this is a courtroom. We're seeing some people come out. Please subscribe. Can I please get 1,000 people to subscribe? Thank you. Also, continue to hit the like button. As we reported, his children did show up to court. The daughters got out of the car first, then some of the sons, and of course, security guards were with them. I'm not certain if I saw the mom. She might have been, I don't know. But I saw the 3 daughters, the sons, and I'm not certain if the mom. She might have been, I don't know. I did take pictures, but the mom changes her hair a lot. So that might have been the mom after the daughters. I'm not certain. Like the video. Can I please get 1,000 people to subscribe? We're almost at 27K. Okay, there's going to be someone that's going to be speaking soon. Yeah. The daughters did show up. Yeah, and like I said, sometimes when I've been watching videos, I didn't know some of the videos was his mom until somebody said that's his mom at one of the parties. I saw what you said, Paris, but I was just being truthful. Like the video. This is outside the courtroom. We're going to update you guys. Okay, hold on. Like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. We're waiting for him to come back, but hold on. Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. And thank you if you've already subscribed. Press 3 if you're new. And let me know where you're chiming in from. Or press 5 if you've... Press 5 if you've been here before. Press 3 if you're new. Or press 5 if you've been here before. Everyone say hello to Paris. She's been helping me for like the last 10 days. She's been a great help. Welcome, welcome to all the new people. We're waiting for someone to hit the podium. If we can please get 800 people to subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Thank you for being here, everyone. Some guy is speaking, so I'm playing it for y'all.
Witnesses, etc. There's no evidence that he did this, subsequent to being charged. They try to say that he possessed flagrants and everything like that. There's no evidence that he ever sought to evade prosecution. It's called prevention. You can't do that. You can't say punish a person for something they might do. They can only punish a person for something they have done.
This is who's speaking.
So the law mandates that he be released pending his trial, and that any deprivation constitutes fundamental deprivation or violation of due process of law. Thank you.
Now that's from another page, but we're going to wait for his reporter to come up and tell us what's going on. I'm seeing video of the kids coming out, praying for his family, praying for his family. I'm trying to update you on stuff. The children, the family coming out. Like the video, like the video. The family's getting in the car. I'm bringing y'all to TTT. If one page is a little delayed, I'm bringing it from another page. Like the video, like the video. This is definitely a reaction video. So if I could please get 800 people to please subscribe. Thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you for being here, everyone. So right now, they're showing the family coming out, and people are taking pictures of the family getting in their cars. Like the video, like the video. That's them going away. Family, bodyguards. I'm over here keeping my eyes on everything. Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here. I'm going to play it again if I can. Hold on. This is what I'm seeing on this side from a different channel. At some point, the family's going to come out again. Hold on. Like the video, like the video. This is a reaction video. If I could please get 700 people to please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for being here, everyone. This is definitely outside the New York court in regards to Sean Diddy Combs. He appeared before the judge in regards to the traffic case. That's what this is saying from the news. Okay, here's the family coming out. Or friends. Here we go. Yep. So that's the daughter. That's the son. That looks like the grandmother. There's another daughter. I feel bad for his children, y'all, period. What did they see? What did they hear? Wow, y'all. Serious. So sad. Oh, so sad. Like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're waiting for the press conference to start, but I did want to show you guys that, you know, when the children had came out, the mom was there. The daughters were there. The sons were there. Quincy's definitely...
brought up the bail application. Why not? Bail pending mandatory. Mandatory. You can't try to person.
Okay, this guy is speaking.
Because you have a right to be convicted before you set subjected to the penalty of a crime. You can't have the punishment before the conviction. Process mandate bail or release pending.
They're going to tell him to get on the mic. They're going to tell him to get on the mic. Hold on. There he goes. He's going towards the mic. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Listen, my name is Ari and I'm a paralegal. The United States Constitution mandates that nobody's subjected to the penalties of a crime without a conviction. Therefore, it is mandatory that Mr. Combs be released pending a conviction.
Transform your company into a great place to work. Get started at SurveyMonkey.com.
Like the video, like the video. Gotta go past the commercial. Please subscribe to the page. There's 1,100 in, 1,500 in. If I could please get 1,500 people to subscribe and turn on your notification bell.
And everything like that. There's no evidence that he ever sought to evade prosecution. It's called pre-invention. You can't do that. You can't say punish a person for something they might do. They can only punish a person for something they have done. So the law mandates that he be released pending his trial, and that any deprivation constitutes a fundamental deprivation or violation of...
Okay, so he must be coming back. Thanks for being here,
welcome
everyone.
back, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber. So you're looking at a live view right now outside of the New York Federal Courthouse where Sean Combs just had a status hearing where his attorneys and the prosecutors and the judge, they went over a number of issues regarding gag orders, regarding the government allegedly leaking material. Most importantly, I would say, is the discovery schedule, how much material there is in this case, when it's going to be turned over to the defense, and I will tell you, the idea that his defense team is looking for a May 2025 trial date, very ambitious, given how much material there is. So I want to bring in right now, I have two special guests, as we wait, by the way, for Elizabeth Milliner, our reporter, who is inside that courthouse to come out and give us the latest. I'm here with Law and Crime's legal counsel, our general counsel, Elizabeth Vulai, here with me on set, and acclaimed litigator Ben Shu, who knows a thing or two about representing high-profile individuals. He represented Johnny Depp in his infamous trial that we covered here on Law and Crime. Great to have you both here. Elizabeth, I'll start with you. First of all, there might be a presser. I have no idea who the guy was that just went on. We're trying to confirm that. But we're also, by the way, taking all of your questions on YouTube. So if you have any questions, make sure to throw them out here and we'll answer them on YouTube.
Thank you for that, S13.
First, I want to ask you, though, what do you think about the idea of a May 2025 trial date, given how much material there is?
I think it's a really ambitious trial date. I think my understanding is that if his attorneys are not sure if he'll be released on bail, one of his main attorneys had said, we don't want him detained here any longer than he has to be. So I think that played a big role in it. But it is surprising because this is a case with a lot of witnesses, a lot of evidence. So I think it's an ambitious goal.
Yeah. Ben, I want to go to you. We have some questions from our YouTubers. And the question was, and it wasn't discussed today, but the issue of bail. This issue is not going to be decided by this judge. It's now being appealed to a higher court, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. In fact, Sean Combs' defense team filed their papers on October 8th, so 2 days ago. They listed a number of reasons why they think he should be entitled to bail, that he shouldn't be detained pre-trial. The question that I have is from Sharon Denies on YouTube. When do we hear when and if he gets bail?
Jesse, first, it's great to be with you again. I think the Second Circuit will act very quickly on this. This is obviously a high-profile case. Second Circuit acts with alacrity generally, so I would think that it would come down with the ruling fairly quickly.
I agree when you're dealing with this kind of issue. And it's so funny, Ben, because we were talking earlier, me and Brian McMonigal and Ava Sullivan, that right now he wants bail. Right now he wants to get out of federal lockup as quickly as possible. But, right, and that's why he's pushing for a trial date around the corner. But if the Second Circuit agrees with him and says, yeah, you know what, you're right, you're released on bail, I think he's going to want to push this trial as far down the line as possible. He doesn't want to be convicted tomorrow, which the evidence seems strong, but obviously he's going to put on a defense. But he probably would want to push this out.
I completely agree, because with time, the more time he's out, obviously he can enjoy that time, or at least enjoy it more than he would in jail. And the more time
there's the family
he has to find corroborating witnesses, these sex workers who presumably will testify that everything was on the up and up, to the extent that can be on the up and up, that this was voluntary. Time would be his friend once he's out on bail. That gives him a longer time to, memories also fade, which is good for him, since it's going to be the prosecution that has the burden.
That's a good point. By the way, this is a live shot from outside the courthouse. We just saw who appeared to be Combs' family and associates leaving the courthouse. We are waiting to see if anybody will hold a press conference and provide some more details here as we wait for this to happen. By the way, I should let everybody know, this is Elizabeth's first time doing a live show, and she's killing it already. I'm so happy to have you on here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I want to throw some more questions to you. So we have a question from Chrissy T on YouTube. Does New York have the death penalty?
It does not. So there's still a fair amount of states actually that have the death penalty, around 25, I believe, but New York does not.
I think they abolished it in 2004, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
But even if it was, sex trafficking and racketeering wouldn't be grounds to execute someone, even if he's convicted, right?
Correct. Even if he's convicted, there's no basis, at least within New York, to proceed with that. But as far as what could happen in other states, we don't know. You know, this is somebody who had homes all across the U.S. We're not sure if investigations will start there, depending on where the conduct took place. But in New York, it would just be prison time if he's convicted.
So I have a question for you, Ben. There's been a very interesting legal update. Tony Busby, this Texas attorney, has announced that he is representing over 100 alleged victims of Sean Combs, that he plans to file over 120 lawsuits across the country. He has said that at least 25 of these alleged victims say that they were abused by Sean Combs when they were minors. I'll give you an opportunity to respond to how that's even going to look, how that would operate. But I'm also going to throw a second question to you. This is from NJ on YouTube. Are the victims, this is from Janal Taylor on YouTube. Is there a possibility that he's going to be charged for the minors allegedly involved? So two questions. How do you even bring 120 lawsuits? And B, considering we're talking about that, is Sean Combs going to ultimately be charged with respect to minors?
Good question.
Yeah, I might have to be reminded of the third question, but with respect to the 100 or 100 plus lawsuits, there's going to be a threshold issue. If I were representing Diddy, I would move to stay those cases pending the criminal trial. That happens a lot in certain states, such as California. If you have simultaneous civil and criminal cases arising out of the same conduct, it can be...
Ben, stand by. I want to get your answer on this, but I think we are...
Press conference has started. Like the video.
One of Sean Combs'
Can I please get 1,500 people to subscribe and turn on the notification bell?
This is a serious proceeding with serious consequences, and all of us are addressing it accordingly.
Anthony, is it a racist proceeding, as Marcus said?
Nobody's okay with staying in jail for now. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for today.
He didn't say much.
Okay, so we really couldn't get much from that. But, I mean, Ben, it seemed that last point was nobody's happy being in jail, which, again, seemed to be the motivation for maybe why they want a quick trial date. I want to go back to what you were saying, though. We were talking about how this Texas attorney would bring over 120 lawsuits, and whether or not Sean Combs could ultimately be charged with respect to abusing minors.
Yeah, certainly. And that adds another extraordinarily disturbing aspect to this. I mean, before today, a lot of legal commentators were saying that this is what distinguishes his case with R. Kelly. That as awful as these allegations against Diddy are, and they are, until today, I don't believe there was any suggestion that any of the alleged victims were minors. Now, if these allegations, bear fruit, then yeah, they absolutely can be the subject of criminal allegations. And in fact, I believe that's how it worked in this case, that prior to the indictment of Diddy, there were the civil cases. And of course, the release of the Cassie Ventura video. So civil cases can precede criminal cases, and that is another disturbing front for Diddy and his attorneys. But I would expect that they would move to stay those cases pending the criminal.
Like the video. This is a reaction video.
In New York.
Just follow up with that on one thing. First of all, there were allegations in the civil lawsuits regarding minors. I mean, some of the people who have sued him said that they were sexually abused when they were underage. But the idea of 25 minors, a 9-year-old being abused, haven't heard anything like that until Tony Busby brought it up. But, even Lil Rod Jones, who filed the lawsuit against Sean Combs, insinuated that he was tasked with soliciting minors for these parties, or that was part of this case. One thing I want to just follow up, Ben, with you. Is there a chance, you said that the petition to pause the civil cases pending the criminal trial, if Sean Combs is acquitted, what happens to the civil trial, the civil cases? Do people say, they could still file the lawsuit, but if he's acquitted by a jury, and yes, you're dealing with different standards of law, does it make them less likely to continue their lawsuits against him?
Good question.
I think the case is, I can't see Busby just folding the tent and going home. I mean, it would depend in part about what happened in the criminal trial. I mean, if there were some kind of vindication, then yes, I think that would be very difficult for the criminal. But, we saw in the Michael Jackson case, of course, where there was an acquittal followed by civil liability, and O.J. Simpson. I mean, I think there's ample precedent for winning the criminal case and yet being held for civil liability. So I wouldn't think that he would be so faint of heart as to give up, and I don't think his clients would want to either.
Yeah, that's a good point. Elizabeth, we have a question from NJ on YouTube. Are the victims being protected from Diddy's people? And clearly it's a fair question in the sense that, assuming they are really victims, they're not of Sean Combs. We know
question.
that his danger to the public, his danger to the victims, the witnesses, was a key factor in him being denied bail. So do you think there's some mechanism being put forward where they are being protected?
Hopefully, yes. Just by the sheer nature of him being detained, if all of these allegations turn out to be true, they get protection in that sense, and that he's not free to potentially cause harm to other people. But I think one of the things to also keep in mind is a report that I saw this week about how there's still fear among the community of people speaking out about this, because even though he's detained in prison, he still has associates, friends, people who have a lot of power in a similar position to him. So we can't say how much they're protecting the victims.
That's fair. And I have another question for you. This is from Morehouse on YouTube. If a person is arrested and the investigation is still ongoing, but a defendant has the right to a speedy trial, is that right in any way hindered by a lengthy, ongoing investigation like this? And I guess the way to think about it is, and we were talking about it before, he wants to go to trial in May without even seeing all of the evidence. We don't know if he's going to be hit with additional charges. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, that's why I think it's such a bit of a risk for his attorneys to ask for that. Again, one of the reasons is they don't want him detained as short as possible. They want him detained, obviously. Whether they could possibly get some sort of extension, depending on if there's more evidence than they thought. It might be a little bit difficult as they get closer to that spring trial date, because then you'll have the judge saying, hey, we met last year, you both...
Gotta pause her, about to listen to what his lawyer has to say.
I'm really not going to make much of a statement. As you know, I made a request for the judge to issue what we call the gag order, and the judge is going to issue it on a reciprocal basis. So I'm not going to say anything that I didn't say in my papers and in court. We submitted a written motion last night. That states our position. I'm not going to say anything in addition to it, but I didn't want to leave all you guys hanging, and I wanted to say at least that I wasn't going to say anything. So that's all I'm going to say and not say. Thank you all. I hope that gives you what you need, but I'm not going to say anything that I haven't said in court and that I haven't said in my court papers. So you all have a nice day, and thank you very much.
How is he doing? How is he doing?
Monster! I saw your bullshit motion. It's full of social media. It's bullshit.
Wow.
Crazy. I saw your whole motion.
Okay. I didn't know that guy was going to do that. Okay, I'm about to bring this one up back again. So that went live, so I had to bring you guys that. I'm trying to see what happened to this. Hold on one second. So we're about to listen to him again. Give me a second. He only spoke for a brief second. Okay, so he's about to come out.
Thanks for all for waiting. I'm really not going to make much of a statement. As you know, I made a request for the judge to issue what we call the gag order, and the judge is going to issue it on a reciprocal basis. So I'm not going to say anything that I didn't say in my papers and in court. We submitted a written motion last night. That states our position. I'm not going to say anything in addition to it, but I didn't want to leave all you guys hanging, and I wanted to say at least that I wasn't going to say anything. So that's all I'm going to say and not say. Thank you all. I hope that gives you what you need, but I'm not going to say anything that I haven't said in court and that I haven't said in my court papers. So you all have a nice day, and thank you very much.
How is he doing? How is he doing?
Monster! I saw your bullshit motion. It's full of social media. It's bullshit. Crazy. I saw your whole motion. You put it together with ChatGPT. Your client is a monster and a predator.
So what happened, the other channel went on a break. So I was like, what happened? What's going on? That's what happened. So the other channel went on a break. His lawyer just spoke out. The other channel is waiting for his friend to speak at the podium, or she's going to come on and speak. So that's what happened. At first I was like, what's going on? So that's what happened. So we saw the family come out. We saw his attorney speak. We saw some paralegal guy, we can't confirm who he is, spoke. So it's very clear that a lot of people are not happy about the outcome. So hold on one second. I'm doing a lot behind the scenes, y'all, bringing y'all everything I can bring y'all, for sure. So, yeah, that page took a break. So if... Okay, they're back, y'all. They back. Like the video. Please subscribe. Please, if I get 1,000 people to subscribe, let me turn it up.
Back to Law and Crime, everybody. Our special coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs status hearing that happened today outside of, or inside of, New York Federal Court. I'm Jesse Weber, and right now we're going to go live to outside of that federal courthouse because our very own Elizabeth Milner is there. She was inside the courtroom for all the action today. Elizabeth, good to see you. So what were the main takeaways? What happened inside that courtroom? And if you can give us a little flavor of what did you observe from the man himself, Sean
Thanks for
Combs?
subscribing.
Yeah, Jesse, it was pretty interesting because I think, we have seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, through Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident. He stood tall. But most importantly and most notably, when he walked inside the courtroom, the first thing that he looked at was his family. As soon as he saw his family, he just lit up. Another thing to note, too, is he wasn't shackled, but he was wearing a khaki prison-like jumpsuit when he appeared inside court, and his family appeared on their end very just happy to see him. Now, I will say, when I was inside the courtroom, I was a little bit towards the back right side of the gallery, and so for seeing Sean Combs, I had to look through a few heads and stuff like that, but again, he appeared just kind of confident walking inside that courtroom, and it might have just been the look that his family was there. So let me kind of paint a picture for you as well, too. His mother arrived a little bit before 1 p.m. Eastern time today, and then whenever his children actually came into the courtroom, the courthouse actually kind of got silent. It was pretty interesting to see that as well, too. So as far as who was sitting by who, you had Janice Combs, who sat by Justin, then it was followed by Chance, the twins, Jesse and Delilah, Quincy, and then Christian Combs, aka King. And so again, once they all saw their father, they all smiled at him, waved at him. And even when we were all leaving the courthouse today, Diddy just blew kisses at his mother and his family members. They didn't say much of anything. I wasn't outside when they had first entered the courthouse, so I'm not sure if they said anything to the press. Previously, they had been very quiet whenever they had entered the courtroom, so I assume it'll be kind of like that as well, too. But it was interesting as well that a lot of the arguments kind of based around the data that was recovered and seized from the homes. So while a lot of us were kind of expecting there to be arguments about the bail or the bond, that really didn't happen. And the judge ordered that the defendant, Sean Combs, stay inside the MDNC, which we know the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. And so as far as what we know now is that we know May 5th is going to be the date, tentatively, that the trial does begin. So we have a lot of stuff that we're expecting to see. But kind of going back to a little bit of the evidence there. Now, I'm looking through this notebook right here, mainly because we're not allowed to have electronic equipment when we're inside that courtroom. So all of this was handwritten notes. So just kind of going over just some of the things that were happening inside that courtroom. I'm sure you have already talked about it there, as far as just all the data that prosecutors daughters and now have in connection to the case. So 96 electronic devices were seized across 3 different locations. That included Diddy's Miami home, his LA mansion, as well as all the devices that were seized whenever he went to the airport. Because as we all remember, when the search warrants were happened, he was actually boarding a flight with his twin daughters, including, and I believe Chance was there as well too, his 18-year-old daughter now. When they were the search warrants were happening and Diddy was caught up at the airport, they did seize different devices that time as well too. And so the data mainly still has to be extracted. Now the government was kind of talking about just some of the devices are a little bit older, so the government in turn is kind of catching up to the technology there. But they say at the airport they seized 9 different devices. 7 of those have been extracted so far. At Miami, 36 different devices were seized. 29 were extracted, and in LA, 51 devices were seized. 24 have been extracted. Excuse me.
Wow.
They say the 8 terabytes of data, that information could come about in the next 2 weeks or so, and they're working on the production, another production of the subpoena returns. And so the defense pretty much didn't object to too much inside the courtroom today. Agnifilo also appeared kind of confident during his arguments. I know a lot of people were kind of expecting for the bail or bond argument to be happening, but that didn't happen, and it appeared that the defense kind of, I'm trying to find the right word here, but they were pretty much complying with all the prosecution's arguments and plan to kind of have everything all good and set to go by May. Now, by the time the end of the year is to happen, I forgot, like, one big turn right here. They did mention that a potential superseding indictment could come. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened yet, but the investigation is still ongoing. And so, we don't know a lot of information as far as what that could look like, but it appears that we could expect more charges to come later on, potentially by the end of the year.
She did a great job, y'all.
Been echoing a lot that we wouldn't be surprised if there's a superseding indictment, and I don't know. I don't think that May date is going to stick if he's hit with additional charges. That's just my guess. Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much. Great reporting, and happy you got a chance to be in that courtroom and also lay out the scene for us as well. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Good seeing you.
Yeah, for her first time, she did good, Paris.
Thanks, Jesse.
Please subscribe to
so
the
now we're
page.
going to break it down. I'm joined once again by our general counsel here at Law and Crime, Elizabeth Vulai. But also, I am joined by criminal defense attorney Nima Rahmani. Good to see you. Thanks so much. Happy to have you both here. Nima, I'll start with you. I mean, the idea of a May 2025 trial date.
I think it was her first time speaking for him,
on the show that Sean Combs, if he thinks he's going to be locked up, obviously wants to go to trial as soon as possible. I get it. He's kind of putting the prosecution's feet to the fire. But you heard Elizabeth, terabytes of data, all this to go through, a production schedule. This really going to happen in May, this trial?
I don't know.
Probably not, but Diddy's lawyers may want to jam up the government if they think there's any chance they're not ready in terms of presenting the electronic evidence or getting their witnesses lined up. It may be part and parcel of the defense's strategy to push this case to trial as quickly as possible. Obviously, we know Combs is in custody, so there's really no point for him to wait. We know that the defense case is going to be limited. When Judge Subramanian asked for a time estimate today, the prosecution gave 3 weeks. The defense only gave 1 week, which means that they're going to base this case mostly on cross-examination. So what they probably want to do is push this case as quickly as possible, because we know under the Speedy Trial Act, once they waive time or time is excluded, the government technically has to get this to trial within 70 days.
I told y'all that was going after a speedy trial.
If he's hit with a superseding indictment, right, and we don't know what those charges could be, we don't know if there could be multiple defendants, we don't know if they're respect to potentially minors. No, am I crazy to think that there's no way this trial is then going to happen in May?
It's unlikely, especially if there's a superseding indictment involving minors, because minors present a completely different set of circumstances. Because we know through his lawyers, Combs is arguing that the sexual activity happened, but it was consensual. Of course, for sex trafficking, you need one of those 3 elements: force, fraud, or coercion. Obviously, minors cannot consent to any sexual activity, so that would be a very different defense entirely. The defense would have to be that the activity it didn't happen at all, and the individuals are lying. So I think that's going to be the potential game changer if we do get the minors wrapped up into a superseding indictment. And we know, at least if you believe the civil attorneys, there are 25 minor victims, one of which is as young as 9.
And those suits haven't been filed yet, but that's what Tony Busby, this Texas attorney, has indicated that we should expect to see in these lawsuits. Elizabeth, I want to go to you. So as
in the next 30 or 60
said,
days,
there was no nothing about bail, and that's not surprising because that issue of bail has now been appealed to a different court, to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. I was going over the paperwork from Sean Combs' attorneys. We have 2 questions about that. Number one, from Simply Sarah on YouTube, his lawyer did file bail paperwork. Yes. This is the second question. This is from Simply Sarah. Oh, Simply Sarah had 2 bail questions. Second one is, was this his last chance for bail? Meaning the paperwork that he just filed.
Yeah, so they filed paperwork basically appealing the decision of the 2 prior judges denying him bail to the Second Circuit. And, technically if they're denied, they do have another higher court, the U.S. Supreme Court, to go to. But I think that's very unlikely. I think this would be the final stop, them appealing to the Second Circuit.
What do you think of his arguments? And let me just lay out what some of these arguments are. So first they say, we have presented a very attractive bail package. We have put $50 million secured by 2 properties, 24/7 security monitoring from an outside security firm, no access to phone, no access to internet, visitor logs, whatever other conditions you want to put. And they also said in their paperwork, Sean Combs knew he was under investigation since January. His attorneys immediately reached out to the Southern District of New York, even before there were raids, before there was charges, was trying to be as cooperative as possible. He surrendered his passport to his attorneys. His family members surrendered their passports. He tried to sell his plane. He came to New York to surrender himself for the charges, and he says that all these allegations that he was reaching out to victims and witnesses, either A, it can't be corroborated, prosecution hasn't presented enough evidence, or B, it was innocuous conversations. It wasn't something sinister, as the prosecution alleges. So what do you think?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument to make. I understand why they stated that. The former judge that was presiding over this case had said when he denied him the application for bail was there's no guarantee that he won't try to obstruct justice in some way, whether that's, removing or tampering with physical evidence, intimidating witnesses possibly, and there could be a strong likelihood of that. What was in the indictment and what a lot of the complaints are based on is a pattern of controlling behavior that he displayed. So you don't know if that behavior could spill over to trying to prevent witnesses from coming forward speaking. And I also think this is a case that's going to rely heavily on physical evidence. The video of Cassandra Ventura being one. It's alleged that he filmed a lot of these activities that are at issue now. So there's always that risk. And if I was the prosecutor, I would be worried about that.
Nima, that's really, really great points. Nima, I want to go back to you. We have a question from Tiffany T.
Like the video,
By the way, if you have any questions,
please
we're going to be
subscribe
taking
to the
questions
page.
probably for the next 10, 15 minutes, so submit them now. The question is, if high-profile people have settled their cases financially and obviously quietly, does that mean they also cooperated in some way with the prosecution? It's a great question because as we were talking about, Tony Busby, this Texas attorney, indicated that he was going to name names, and I believe he told TMZ that some high-profile people have already reached out and tried to settle these claims. So this idea that if they settled their claims already, do you think that they're cooperating with the government?
Good question.
Well, they're 2 separate cases, right? And Tiffany has a great question. There's the civil claims and the criminal. Now, theoretically speaking, someone who is under subpoena in the criminal case, they have to testify even if they've settled their civil claim. I mean, that being said, we know that Diddy has a lot of money, reportedly up to $1 billion, but certainly well over $100 million, and he has a lot of money to pay off these civil claimants. So if I'm the prosecution in this case, I worry that some of these victims may go sideways. They may be less than cooperative if they've been paid off in one of these civil lawsuits.
So it's a good question. And let me just throw this out back to you, Nima. You heard also this idea of defense alleging that the government has engaged in misconduct. They said it was the DHS agents who leaked the 2016 video of Sean Combs purportedly beating Cassandra Ventura. This is a way to taint the jury, that they have been speaking to the media about what they found in the raids, what justice would look like. Those were interesting arguments that were echoed today. What do you take away from it?
Like the video, like the
defense
video.
attorneys say all sorts of things, and as a former prosecutor, I don't do any criminal defense work right now. I don't think that's entirely accurate for a couple of reasons. First of all, that is clear video of Combs beating Cassie Ventura at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, where I live. He paid $50,000 to get a copy of that video, and I know, because I do a lot of CNN, who actually was the first to get the video, that video likely came from folks at the hotel who retained a copy. So to the extent that the defense is making this argument, it may be good for the court of public opinion. I understand why they want a gag order to preserve whatever reputation Combs has left, but they shouldn't be upset at the evidence, because witnesses can lie, Diddy can lie, even victims can lie, but that video doesn't lie, and we've all seen it. So let's not forget, Combs denied all the allegations from the time Cassie filed this lawsuit in November of 2023, even after the raids in March, until May, when that video became public. He came out and he gave that, I don't think a very sincere apology, but an apology nonetheless. And I think that's how powerful the video is. I don't think the defense is making a very genuine argument here.
And his mom released a statement this past week, seemingly acknowledging that he wasn't truthful about the allegations. That, he probably wasn't honest, because he ended up apologizing for what he did in that video. So the idea that he denied everything, he didn't do anything, him apologizing in the video is questionable. Okay, I have a question for you, Elizabeth, that was made for you. Made for you. Do you remember when we did the episode of Sidebar about NDAs?
Yes.
Okay. I encourage everybody to check it out. Okay, now, the question is from Brie Alexis on YouTube. We have all been aware that Combs had multiple NDAs. So, an account to witnesses, if someone still has an active NDA, does that prohibit them from being a witness for either side in this case?
Good question.
So it's a great question. So you can't technically use an NDA to prevent people from reporting criminal or illegal activity. So if the person who signed that NDA, if they witnessed something happening, something criminal, one of the things that's being alleged in the indictment, that NDA wouldn't likely hold up. There still might be that fear on behalf of that person about coming forward, but if it were challenged in a court, it wouldn't really hold up.
Nima, here's another question. This is from Bubbly Unusual. How much of this evidence do you think will be public?
Oh, it's all going to be public. Just to add one thing to what Elizabeth said, and Congress passed a law a couple of years ago invalidating NDAs in sexual assault, sexual harassment cases, so they don't hold water. Those folks are going to have to testify. But what was the question again, Jesse?
I'm sorry, you were too busy providing another great answer. The question was, how much of this evidence do you think will be made public? Yeah.
It will all be public, because we're going to have a very public trial. Unfortunately, there are no cameras allowed in federal courtrooms, and not in New York either. So, Law and Crime won't be able to broadcast it, but I'm sure they're going to have great coverage. And at the end of the day, I fully expect this case to go to trial. I don't think there's any possible plea bargain that will be offered. Certainly not anything that Combs will accept. So it's all going to come out. The victims are going to have to testify. We'll see if other celebrities or friends of Combs are wrapped into this as well, either as witnesses or co-defendants in a superseding indictment. So there's been a lot of smoke out there, a lot of rumors and innuendo, but it's all going to come to a head, whether it's in March of 2025 or sometime later next year.
I 100% agree with you. I do not see a deal likely for multiple reasons. I don't think, even if he was offered a deal, it would have to include significant prison time, and he's not going to agree to that. Elizabeth, I have a question for you. This is from Kathy Wu on YouTube. How do you think Diddy will be treated in jail? Are there any special cells or more isolated treatment for celebrities?
Good question.
I highly doubt it. So he's currently detained in a facility in Brooklyn. It doesn't have a great reputation of how it treats its inmates and just the general atmosphere, obviously. But I think he's actually more prone to potential risk because he's such a high-profile individual. I think sometimes we've seen instances where other inmates, we saw that happen in R. Kelly, actually, when they specifically target someone they view as high-profile or perhaps wealthy. So I can't imagine there are great conditions that he's in right now.
Back over to you, Nima. I'm going to doing a lightning round with some of these final questions that we're getting on YouTube. To Janae Taylor, is his mother being investigated as well as his sons?
Well, we know that there's some allegations against his sons. Little Rod in his civil complaint made them. Now, as far as whether family members are under investigation, it's really impossible to know. I mean, U.S. Attorney.
This is a reaction video. I need to bring you the information, but this is a reaction video. We have 1,600 in the room. Can I please get 1,500 to please subscribe and turn on the notification? I have to talk in between. Thanks for being here. Press 3 if you're new to the channel. Press 5 if you've been here before. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let's play the clip. Thanks for being here.
Damien Williams did talk about the investigation being ongoing. You heard Law and Crimes Elizabeth talk about a potential superseding indictment today, but until they go to a grand jury and that indictment is unsealed, we won't know who in Diddy's inner circle. It could be someone like Christina Horam, his right-hand woman or chief of staff. Again, it's all speculation as to who was involved and whether they might get wrapped up in this case.
That's a great point. I'm going to ask you the last question, Elizabeth, of our live stream here. This is from Rob from Canada, so we decided to go international for this last question. How do they find any impartial jury members?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's going to be difficult. One is that in this age of social media and people following on all sorts of different social media platforms, they see a lot. When that video came out of Cassie Ventura, that was really difficult hurdle for his team to get over. So I think it's going to be difficult. I would imagine that if I was the prosecution, I would kind of veer towards a little bit of an older generation. Maybe people that didn't necessarily follow him or his music, are not really in tune with social media, perhaps. That's the route I would take, but I think it is going to be difficult.
And look, people are going to know about him. They're going to know about this case. There's probably those who've even seen that video. The question is, can you put any of those opinions to the side and base this case purely on the facts and the law? Sometimes it's easier said than done, but we are not at that point yet. It is not May 2025. Again, I still don't know if that trial is going to happen by then. But here's what I do know. I've had great guests this past, Elizabeth this past hour, Nima this past half hour. So Nima Rahmani, I want to thank you. Elizabeth Vulai, I want to thank you so much. Really appreciate you both coming on. And everyone out there, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the great questions. We will continue to follow the Sean Combs case for you on all of our different shows here on Law and Crime, and if there should be another court hearing, we'll plan to do something like this as well. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you next time. I'm Jesse Weber.
So thanks for being here, everyone. I hope everyone really enjoyed. Let me pause it. Really enjoyed the coverage. He had a lot of great questions. He had a lot of great people talking. Do you think Diddy brought his mother and daughters to try and seem like I'm a single dad? I need to be with my children. I have an older mother. They weren't there. The daughter, we didn't see. They weren't there at the other hearing from 3 or 4 weeks ago. As a mom and as him having daughters, I'm sure they wanted to be there. But everybody looks sad. Hollywood. Cat Williams said everybody will be exposed. He said it. Cat Williams said, you guys are going to be exposed. These artists should be able to be creative and not be fearful. These people should be able to keep their masters. People shouldn't be fearful of their lives. Some are said, you're better off. Not, I'm going to be general, not here. I make more money with you not here. They're putting life insurance on these people. That's the sad part. And all that, all commissar allege. A judge or jury will have to decide if there's any wrongdoing. Hollywood needed to be exposed. Hollywood needed to be shut down in regards to the weird stuff that's going on. We have so many young creative artists that are from the age of 18 to 30 that's dealt with stuff we can't even imagine. These are some very, very, very serious allegations. That's why he's still behind bars. He had a lot of people helping him backing him, supporting his travel, supporting his parties. I'm wondering what the caterer know, what the driver know, what the landscaper know, what does mama know, what did the children hear? We even saw a video of him taking the children's phones. And like I told y'all in the video earlier, RIP to Kim Porter. But if Kim was here, Kim and Cassie's situationship, yes, the dealer, the mule. RIP to Kim Porter. What Kim knew, what Cassie knew, the conversations they had. Look what happened to Albie Shore. Look what happened to the people that were a part of, you know, him producing them. I'll say it that way. Prayers go out to the alleged victims. And prayers go out to anybody that's had a situation with a producer or anybody in the industry. And if there's somebody that's similar to what he's done, his friends got to be shaking in their boots. Whoever's been friends with him over the last 5 or 10 years, they got to be shaking in their boots. Baby, I'm sorry. Honey, I don't know what's going to happen. I was outside. I never went. Oh, these husbands, these boyfriends, these spouses, these homeboys, they are scared. Many people are saying if all this stuff, all the allegations were going on for so long, be kind in the comments. We talk over here. Please like the video. Can I please get 800 people to subscribe? We talk over here. I don't do disrespect. Be kind in the comments or I will time you out. Hollywood has been Hollywood and Hollyweird for a very long time. We got plants that's out there. Got young girls, you know, trying to be away. We got people like the diddler, some of his friends, some of his business partners. Yeah, and if there was, RIP to Kim Porter, if there was a book that she was trying to present, whew, I think if there's a situation, I think a person, if you're allowed to sit with your attorney, record your concerns, if you're allowed to sit with the police, record your concerns, if you're allowed to sit with the doctor, record your concerns, and then that way, you're in emergency, you got bruises, you're telling them what happened. If you're sitting with the police, you're telling them what happened. And you're going to get a police report. But to visually see somebody, because you got to remember, in the indictment, it stated that some of the people were sent to hotels to recover from their bruises because they didn't want them to go to the hospital. So concerning. If there is a concern about the baby oil, and it's almost seems like over the last 10 years, if these allegations are true, it almost seems like he kind of got worse. Seems that way. Little Rod is speaking out again this week, y'all. When I get my hands on the information that Little Rod is talking about while I was running my errands, I had heard people talking about Little Rod. He presented more information. Little Rod has alleged videos, conversations with him and Diddy. When Little Rod worked with Diddy, famous people that were around him, Little Rod said that Diddy likes to record himself so he don't have to repeat himself. So Little Rod got stuff of his own that Diddy probably also had. So when you really think about it, when Homeland Security took Diddy stuff, they didn't take Little Rod's stuff. When Homeland Security raided his homes, they took Diddy, all the Diddy stuff, but they didn't take Little Rod stuff. So we don't know what Little Rod is going to present in court, show in court. And if, if the FBI took all his stuff and then he has copies of everything. Can I please get 1,000 people to subscribe? Thank you. We're at 27K. I'd like to get to we're at 27K. I'd like to get to 28K. But people are speaking out. And I think a lot of people are saying they want to keep him behind bars, so people continue to speak out. I told y'all 2-3 weeks ago that they were going to try and get a speedy trial. I told y'all that because a lot of the lawyers were saying that. But that does not mean that they seek that date. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen on that date because the other side might not even be ready to present their case. Not legal advice, just giving my opinion. So he wanted to get on the books to get an early trial. He may have known that he may not get out today. He may have known that they were going to basically just say, okay, you want this date for this trial? Let's do that. Ooh, baby. I brought y'all the information. Let me see if I can pull up this picture again. Hold on. I feel sorry for his children because they have to deal with, their fathers and what he decided to do. That's the children walking out. They look so sad. I could not even imagine. Let me see if I can rewind it again. I paused it, but then I just dropped it in my lap. Praying for his kids. Praying for the children. But a lot of people say Diddy made choices. He should have been thinking about his kids before all these allegations came up on him. This was the guy that spoke earlier.
My name is Ari, and I'm a paralegal. The United States Constitution mandates no one subject to the penalties of crime without a conviction. Therefore, it's mandatory that Mr. Combs be released pending a conviction. Also, they try to say that he may have tampered with witnesses, etc. There's no evidence that he did this subsequent to being charged. They try to say that he presents a flight risk and everything like that. There's no evidence that he ever sought to evade prosecution. You can't do that. You can't say punish a person for something they might do. They can only punish the person for something they have done. So the law mandates that he be released pending his trial, and that any deprivation constitutes a fundamental deprivation or violation of due process. Thank you.
Now, we're not certain exactly who that guy is, but he wanted to speak, so they let him speak.
Let's see.
Praying for the kids. Once again, the kids and the mom coming out.
Can you speak at the microphones?
Praying for the kids. The girls look devastated. So do the sons. Quincy, Justin, the girls, the mom, family.
I love your son. Let's go.
So praying for them. I think that gentleman did a great job. Like I said, this was a reaction video. If I could please get 1,000 people to subscribe. Over the last 4 or 5 days, we've gotten like 4,000 to 5,000 subscribed to the channel. I've been staying on it. We talk trending topics, hot topics. Here I do long form, but I have a lot of shorts that do general topics about other stuff. We did talk about the hurricane. We have. Thank you for subscribing. Yes, I have videos over there about the hurricane, praying for the people in the hurricane. I spoke with one of my electrician friends this morning. He had got a call from one of his friends to go over there as an electrician to help Florida, and he said he's considering it. So praying for everyone in Florida. They had mentioned in regards to Florida, supposed to be a category 5, and I think it was a category 3 or 4. So praying for everyone. We did a lot today, you guys, and I thank you all. Let me see. I'm going to check. We covered a lot. I was live this morning. I came live this afternoon. I'm glad I did, because at first I was like, no, I'll wait until the press conference starts. But I'm glad I came on when I did. There was a lot of information given. This was a reaction video. A lot of Diddy's friends are panicking. They've decided to attach themselves to a guy that is right now behind bars. And he has a lot of concerns in regards to the 120 cases, the cases after Cassie. You got the hotline. People are calling in. There's so much. And then when I'm able to get more information about what Little Rod had to say, he's got so much proof. That's why he probably really scared, because he don't probably remember everything Little Rod has. It's one thing for you to know when Homeland Security, because you know what tapes you got, but you don't know everything Little Rod's got. That's the part that I'm sure he's probably scared of. And any of his other friends that might have been recording or conversation, or, you know, if they were at home recording him, if they had a concern with him, who knows who has to hit the stand? Who knows who's got the subpoena? Who knows who's going to plead the fifth? His friends are quiet. Even though some of them have that NDA, they probably don't want to break the NDA by speaking out. But if they're on that stand, they could tell if there's criminal charges alleged. His friends probably don't want to break the NDA because they don't want to be sued by Diddy or his team. But if there's criminal issues going on, they have to speak out. They have to speak out with an attorney on the stand. They got freedom to speak out if there's criminal things that happened. That makes sense. More people showed up today than before. Hollywood, Hollyweird. Over the next year is going to be interesting. We're going to hear more and more every week. Every week there's going to be probably a lot of mind-blowing things. At least every week. It won't be every day. Every week we'll hear something about mind-blowing things. There's another musician that may be alleged in a tape regarding Diddy. There may be a situation in regards to Mrs. Graves, how much she knew, how much her ex-boyfriend knew. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and I try and bring y'all everything. And I bring y'all clips from the news because that way we can get straight to it. But yeah, I'm going to research the Little Rod stuff. There's, like I said, an artist that might have saw stuff, heard stuff. Yeah. So yeah, you guys, can you please hit subscribe? We're almost at 28K. If I can please get 800, please subscribe. Also, you guys, let me know. If you're new to the channel, press 3 and where you're chiming in from. If you've been here before and you chimed in before, you can send in a super chat if you want. That's the $sign in the box right next to the smiley face. Any super chats are welcome. I be getting so straight to the topic, I be forgetting to ask for money sometimes. Paris will tell you, she be going in. Because I remember saying, my family's like, you got to get back on there. You got to say something about super chats. And Paris like, girl, how much more you need? I said, no, Paris, not you. I do have memberships available. So sometimes when there's hot topics, trending topics, and if it's a little too spicy for YouTube, that's what I'm going to put onto my memberships. If you do become a member, I will definitely see your comments, because that's why whenever Paris talk, unless I'm looking down or doing something else, if you are a member, I do pay attention more to your comments. I do. That's why whenever Paris says something, I see it, because her name, she's a member. And anytime she comes in, I say, hello, Paris. Everybody say hello to Paris. So she's paid for a membership. So she gets special attention. So if you want to become a member, look that up. There she go. Hi, Paris. You've been amazing these last 10 or 12 days. I appreciate you. Yes, say hello to Paris. Everybody show Paris some love. She pops in. See, Paris, you're getting some love. She's been an amazing help. Ryan has been an amazing help. Watcha has been an amazing help. But Paris is the one that's a member. So you see how her name has the, special thing around it. It's a membership. So that's what, if you want me to really pay attention to what you're saying, you got to become a member. Super chats are welcome. But I definitely thank everyone. See, hello, y'all. See how she's got the little blue thing around her? It's a membership dot. So a lot of times I will pay attention. Now, if it's going fast and I'm working with my tablets, Paris know, she been here long enough. She know I'll try and definitely see what she's saying. Oh my goodness. Paris, I'm almost at 28K. I appreciate everybody. Last month I had 3,000 subscribers. Now I'm almost at 28K. We've been getting the views, baby. It's been 4.9 million in 7 days. 4.9 in 7 days. So I've been busy. I've been busy. Let me think. I'm gonna check and see if there's any trending news, hot news I need to tell you guys about. A lot of times for my show, I do trending news in the beginning, middle, or end. It just depends. If I see something, I'll talk to you guys about it. But my shorts cover a range of things. And like I said, today's video was a reaction video. I think they had a lot of great questions. It's basically saying from Hollywood Unlocked, Diddy remains in jail. He gets an official trial date for May 5th of 2025. A lot of lawyers say the other side might not be ready, but they wanted to get that date. They gave him that date. There's some things that's going on with Kanye. I'm going to look into that, because some pages don't show Kanye a lot of favor. This is a picture of his family and children. This is a picture of his family and children. So prayers go out to them. Like the video, you guys. Continue to like the video. Thank you. My shorts are good. I be wanting to bring it up a little bit closer, but then I be wanting to make sure the title is in there. Girl, I'll be getting in trouble. I'll be getting in trouble sometimes doing them shorts. And it's random stuff. Something I see, okay, they might want to hear this. They might have saw this. Okay, I haven't seen this. They might want to see it. So sometimes I do sometimes it's that was a little blurry. I might post that later. I might post it a little bit later. Yeah. I might post it a little bit later. My favorite tablet, I broke something on it about 3 months ago. Yeah. So this tablet is doing what it do. Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's going on with Kanye. I'm gonna have to look into that. The K's and the J's are friends with a lot of famous people. If there's stuff going on with Kanye, we'll get to it. Yep. So I'll probably do some shorts about his children going into court. I'll probably do some shorts. Yeah, because there's things that I had to trim out of one of my videos today, Paris. I think it was the last 10 minutes. They made me trim out something and they weren't giving me full monetization. So YouTube is kind of, but I'm dealing with it. Yeah. So I might do the shorts even tomorrow morning. He remained behind bars in regards to the traffic case. And yeah, I might do this. I might do these shorts before I even, shut down. Um, and this is coming from TMZ. Diddy's in court. Feds say another indictment with more charges may be coming. So what TMZ is basically saying, we've heard about the indictment. We need to still know more about the RICO. Who's a part of the RICO? Is there more indictment concerns that they're going to clean up the file? He has a date trial set. So that's what everybody's talking about. I mean, he is trending. I bet he never thought. And it's not just a Cassie thing. It's just not the alcohol thing. They've been watching him for a while. Y'all remember his Halloween costumes? So, since his trial date is set for May 5th, we're going to pay attention to that date. Because, and the RICO, I wonder what names is a part of the RICO. I'm going to dig deeper into what TMZ is saying, but a lot of times I have to be careful what certain pages say, because sometimes certain pages might get, they might be helping some of these celebrities. Sometimes these pages be helping celebrities, almost like they pay for ads or assistance. So certain stuff, not that I don't want to bring it to y'all, but if it don't look right, then I ain't gonna talk about it. So like I said, we're going to pay attention to May of next year. If it gets pushed back, it's because the other side is not ready and there's just too much information to go through. These lawyers and judges have other cases. So it's not like they can, I'm very careful. Just in general. Hold on, you guys. Hello? Hey, how are you? Why? Oh shit. Are you serious? Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me put you on mute. I gotta put something in the background. I'm working. Hold on. Yeah, you guys. So let me play something for you guys. Let me see.
there are people out there who would assume that any settlement means that the person who's paying money is guilty or is liable, and that's not the case. We all know that people settle cases for any number of reasons, to avoid embarrassment, to avoid expense. So it doesn't connote guilt or innocence or liability. But I think it's difficult. I don't know if you're representing plaintiff X and you have resolved the case for plaintiff B. What if there's evidence in the case that you've settled and you have some kind of protective order barring the use of that evidence? I don't know how you can do that without prejudicing your other potential clients, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. That's a good way to look at that. I got to process that one for a second. But yeah, it's a good point. So again, let me just set the stage about what's happening. This hearing has concluded. There were a number of issues that were decided or at least discussed regarding discovery, a trial date. We are waiting for Elizabeth Milner to come out and give us a breakdown of everything that happened in court. As we do, we are taking your questions. I want to go back to you, Elizabeth. I have two questions for you. First question is, and this is something that we've been, not only have we been asking for a long time, assuming these allegations are true, but also this was asked to Damian Williams, the United States Attorney, right as Sean Combs was arrested. Why has this really only come to light now, especially as details appear to have happened decades ago?
Yeah, it's a good point. Whenever I hear a question like that, I always pinpoint back to November 2023 when Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit. I would imagine that there's a lot of fear in a lot of people in coming forward with their claims with someone who did hold a lot of power, does have enormous resources. When she filed that lawsuit, I think it gave bravery for other people to come forward. And I think when prosecutors saw that, I think that was really helpful for them to be able to actually build their case. Because I would imagine before she filed her lawsuit, a lot of these things, maybe they were known in the industry or his friends, but the public didn't really have knowledge about it.
Right, no, yeah, and he didn't have a great answer for that, or maybe he didn't want to reveal it at that point. Ben, I'm going to give you the final question because I've looked at the time. I have to sign you both off, but Ben, I want to ask you this. This is from Kyle Lawrence Music. Will his federal case greatly impact his individual civil cases? And if convicted, will he have to serve his sentences concurrently?
Great question. That will be up to the judge as to whether the sentences are served concurrently. So that's going to be determined after trial. Yes, I think as a practical matter, a conviction in the criminal case will definitely have an impact on the civil cases because, as you pointed out earlier, the criminal standard of beyond a reasonable doubt is so much higher than the civil standard. But of course, if he's convicted of any of these crimes, civil liability is the least of his concerns because he's going to be deprived of his personal liberty probably for the rest of his life.
That seems to be his main focus right now. I lied. Elizabeth is going to stay with us. I wasn't kicking you off. I didn't see the time. You're staying with us. Ben, though, unfortunately, Ben is a very busy man. We appreciate the time that he can give us. So, Ben Chu, I have to sign you off, but thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate your insight as always.
Thank you so much, and nice to meet you, Elizabeth.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will hopefully get Elizabeth Milner on. We'll hear what happened in that courtroom, her observations of Sean Diddy Combs. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for being here. Oh, it timed out. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I see you saying she's gone. Yeah, I told you I got people calling me. They got this problem, that problem. I'm here. I'm here. Yes, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Paris. How long was it out for? Like 2 minutes? 1 minute? Like the video. Like the video. Yeah, girl. My friend just had an emergency. They almost got into a major accident. My goodness. So like the video. I have to go, you guys. They're probably about to call me back. Got to see what's going on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all. You know, pray for my friend. I'm just glad they're okay. God bless everyone. Appreciate you all for being here and being patient. I almost didn't take the call, but I really hadn't spoke to them in like 3 weeks. And they normally don't call me during this time. I'm just glad they're okay. They're okay. They're a little shook up. Told you my phone be ringing about everything. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a blessed evening. Goodbye.